Religion is intertwined with all other aspects of history and geography because, compared to other aspects of culture, it's relatively resistant to decay over time and distance. For example, descendants of immigrants often adopt a new language but continue to practice the faith of their ancestors. Developing strong mental maps of the origins, diffusion, and distribution of major religions and their divisions is one of the most valuable ways to understand culture. Religion is often closely linked to ethnicity, or membership in a group of people who share characteristics like ancestry, language, customs, history, and common experiences. Most geographers distinguish between nationality, which describes people's connection to a particular country, and ethnicity, which is based upon group cultural traits. For example, Russian Jews make up a different ethnicity than Russians in general. Geographers often study ethnic groups as minorities within a greater population. To do so, they focus on mapping and analysis as they trace the movement of ethnic groups and investigate their spatial dimensions and cultural landscapes. To analyze religious and ethnic groups, geographers try to define, locate, and study them. Religion and ethnicity are easier to define than is the process of examining each group's space, place, identity, and movement. One way to see the relationship among all of these aspects of culture is to focus on historical connections. Geographers start by mapping a cultural hearth, the source or origin where a religion or ethnicity began, and then track its movement and predict its future direction. Patterns and landscapes of religious and ethnic groups vary by place and region at various scales. For example, at the regional level, Baptists are the most common religious group in the southeastern United States. Zooming into the state level, the same is true for most states, including South Carolina. However, at the country level, many individual counties in South Carolina have more Methodists or Lutherans than any other group. And at the census tract level, the state appears even more diverse. The degree of adherence to tradition varies within each religion. Every religion includes followers who practice fundamentalism, which is an attempt to follow the literal interpretation of a religious faith. Fundamentalists believe that people should live traditional lifestyles similar to those prescribed in the faith's holy writings. In some traditions, this means that women are likely to leave school at a young age, to live in an arranged marriage, and to avoid working outside the home. Fundamentalists are more likely than others in their faith to enforce strict standards of dress and personal behavior, often through laws. The strength of fundamentalism often diminishes with greater distance from the religious hearth. For example, the hearth of Islam is the Arabian Peninsula, and that is where fundamentalism has long been strongest. Fundamentalism is less prevalent in Muslim-majority countries farther from the hearth, such as Malaysia and Indonesia. One way to measure fundamentalism in Islam is by the role of Sharia, the Islamic legal framework for a country. Sharia is strongest in the countries of the Arabian Peninsula, such as Saudi Arabia and Yemen. Some fundamentalist countries, such as Iran, are theocracies, countries whose governments are run by religious leaders through the use of religious laws. Fundamentalists often clash, sometimes violently, with those who wish to follow religious traditions more loosely or to live a more secular lifestyle. The distribution of ethnic and religious groups in the United States reflects historical patterns. Congregationalists are still strong in New England, where their English ancestors settled in the 1600s. Baptists and Methodists are most common in the Southeast, where these denominations were spread by traveling preachers in the 1800s. Lutherans live mostly in the Midwest, where their German or Scandinavian forebears who immigrated in the late 1800s could find good farmland. Many Mormons live in or near Utah, where Mormons settled in the mid-1800s after religious persecution drove them out of Missouri and Illinois. Roman Catholics are most common in urban areas, in the Northeast, and throughout the Southwest. Jews, Muslims, and Hindus live most often in urban areas, the traditional home to immigrants. Advances in communication, such as printing, television, and the internet, have had contradictory effects on the distinctive traits of many religious communities. In 1850, a farmer in Western Ireland lived in a community where nearly everyone was Roman Catholic and so had little contact with other traditions. Today, no one is isolated. Exposure to other ideas can erode traditions. However, if that Irish farmer immigrated to the United States, he was nearly cut off from the community of his birth. Today, an Irish immigrant can keep in close touch with friends and family. And sometimes people respond to globalization with neolocalism, the process of re-embracing the uniqueness and authenticity of a place. For example, a neighborhood in a large city might hold a festival to honor the religion, cuisine, and history of the migrants who settled in that community. Religions, like other elements of culture, diffuse outward from their hearths in various ways. The spread of religious settlements, both locally and globally, contributes to the sense of place and of belonging for each religious group and greatly shapes the cultural landscape. Geographers analyze maps, charts, and other data to understand the growth, decline, movement, and cultural landscapes of the world's religions. They have traced the geographic patterns of each major world religion, including the religion's hearth or place of origin, the geographic spread of the religion, and practices that can influence both the culture and the cultural landscape. Several belief systems have developed in Asia. Of these, 2 developed in India and have diffused to other places from there. Hinduism includes the worship of many deities, so some people consider it polytheistic, which means having many gods. However, Hindus consider all deities as manifestations of one god, so it can be considered monotheistic, which means having one god. Hindus believe in karma, the idea that behaviors have consequences in the present life or a future life, and in dharma, which means the righteous path. For part of its history, Hinduism worked closely with a caste system, a rigid class structure that shaped Indian society. Buddhism grew out of the teachings of a prince named Siddhartha, who lived about 600 years BCE. Accepting many beliefs of Hinduism, Siddhartha, who became known as the Buddha or Enlightened One, advised followers to escape the cycle of suffering through right views, hopes, speech, conduct, livelihood, effort, and mindful meditation. 3 major religions trace their history to Abraham. He was a religious leader who lived in the Middle East around 1800 BC. Judaism was among the first monotheistic faiths. Jews believe that the writings known as the Torah expresses divine will. It is supplemented by other writings as well as unwritten laws and customs. For the past 2,000 years, most Jews lived in Europe and North Africa. Always a small minority, they often suffered persecution. In the late 1800s, Jews in search of religious liberty began efforts to establish a homeland in the Middle East and began migrating to the United States. During World War II, the systematic murder of 6 million Jews by Nazi Germany, an event known as the Holocaust, strengthened the movement to create a predominantly Jewish state in the Middle East. In 1948, the country of Israel was formed. Jews from around the world migrated there. Christianity began when followers of a Jewish teacher, Jesus, evolved into their own religion based on the belief that Jesus was the Son of God and the Savior of humans. He emphasized the importance of faith, love, and peace. Christianity spread outward from the Middle East to become the dominant religion in Europe and then to America and other parts of the world. Islam is the religion followed by Muslims. Muslims believe that Allah, the Arabic word for God, revealed his teaching to humans through a series of prophets. The last of these was Muhammad, who lived in what is now Saudi Arabia in the 6th and 7th centuries. Muslims believe that Allah communicated his teachings to Muhammad, who shared them with people in the book of holy writings known as the Quran. Ethnic religions are belief traditions that emphasize strong cultural characteristics among their followers. In most cases, members of an ethnic religion are born or adopted into it. Members have a shared historical experience or struggle that creates strong bonds. Ethnic religions rarely recruit new followers actively. Rather, they spread as a result of relocation diffusion. Hinduism and Judaism are the world's 2 most widespread ethnic religions. The Jewish diaspora and global migration of Hindus from India are examples of such relocation diffusion. In contrast to an ethnic religion, a universal religion actively seeks converts to its faith regardless of their ethnic backgrounds. Universalizing religions have spread far from their original hearths because existing members feel a mandate to spread their beliefs to others. To carry out this mandate, members of a universalizing religion often serve as missionaries who both perform charitable works and convert non-believers. The two largest universalizing religions, Christianity and Islam, also spread from their hearths through conquest and colonization. Christianity, which was found mostly in Europe in the 15th century, added millions of followers when Christian missionaries accompanied the European explorers and conquerors to the Western Hemisphere, Southern Africa, and Australia. As Europeans expanded their empires, they converted people to Christianity, sometimes violently. Islam spread in much the same way, through the Middle East, North Africa, and Asia. In many faith traditions, followers feel called to go on a pilgrimage, a religious journey taken by a person to a sacred place of his or her religion. Each year, over 20 million Hindus journey to the Ganges River, millions of Muslims travel to Mecca, a pilgrimage known as a Hajj, and many Muslims, Jews, and Christians visit Jerusalem's many holy sites. Colonialism, imperialism, and trade have played a powerful role in spreading religion and culture. Historians often divide European colonialism into two separate waves. From the 1500s to about 1800, Europeans colonized the Americas and South Asia. Then, during the late 1800s and the mid-1900s, European powers colonized most of Africa and Southwest Asia. The European colonizers imposed their cultural traits on the local populations. For example, before European colonization, most religions practiced by the native people of Africa and North America were forms of animism, the belief that non-living objects, such as rivers or mountains, have a spirit. Europeans forced many of their colonial subjects to adopt the Christian faith of their colonizers. The Spanish and French spread Roman Catholicism throughout Latin America, North America, and Quebec. The English, Belgians, and Dutch spread forms of Protestantism in their colonies. Today, few formal colonies remain in the world, but the practices left behind by the European powers are present in their former colonies. The afternoon break for tea, a British tradition, is still practiced in Kenya and India. The Christianity that was brought by the European colonizers is still widespread in many former colonies.